I think I can go back pretty far. I can say probably in my earlier school grades, I had a sister that had went to be a Sister of Providence, which was a teaching order. And I think I was like 6 or 7 when she went. So I got to be a part of that as that was happening for her. And I grew to understand what it was, especially the convent part and the religious life part. And then along with that was they were teachers. And I knew they were good teachers because they were the ones that I was going to have that in school myself. So it was kind of like a little circle that went around. So I knew them, and they were the ones that I knew at school. So I grew up through those 8 years at school thinking, I really would love to be a teacher. And on top of all that, I love kids. I've always loved children. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. But by this time, I'm only in grade school. But the kids used to say, oh, I know you're going to be a teacher. And then when I got to high school, oh, you're going to be a nun. You know, we know that. Why do you say that, I'd say? Why do you say that? You are, and we know you are. You're going to be a teacher, you're going to be in school, and you'll probably be a nun too. So it just kind of grew up there with me, and I certainly didn't think about it all the time, but it did happen. I went out to teach for the first time to Hammond, Indiana, and I had 3rd graders. I loved it. And did that for about 5 years there. And then I moved on to another area in Downers Grove, Illinois, and that was a really nice school too. And I had 1st graders there for about another 3 years. And then I have a friend, Joan Morgan, who was also a Sister of Providence that also lives here. And she was made a principal at an all-black school in Chicago that was just opening. And she was looking for somebody to go there. So eventually I got there, and that was a good thing, and stayed there for a couple of years. By this time I was ready for my master's degree, and I was going to study at the National College of Education in Evanston, Illinois. And I asked one of our head religious education nuns, and because I was leaving, it was still going to be kind of costly, and I knew I wasn't going to have any money at this time. And she said, yes, you can go. And I said, if you just pay for my 1 year to get started, I'll be sure to give it right back to you, which I certainly did within a very short time. And that all worked out, and I'm still very, very good friends with the sisters in that community, and I really believe, much as I can say for myself, my heart is still partly there. It always has been and always will be. Then I went into being an educational consultant in the district, this is in the Joliet area. And as a consultant, it was wonderful because I got to do a lot of other things besides teach. I was really teaching teachers how to teach and working with them and helping them in all the schools where they were teaching. I would come in and help them make plans and start different programs and all. And then I worked with staff development, which really worked with teachers for another year or two. And then all along I was watching. I really wanted to be a principal for many reasons, but I also knew I needed to because I needed some money to move on in my life. So we were very poor, and that was still good. But I knew I had to really get a job and get some pension behind me and some of that behind. So I went into, I got everything I needed to be a principal, and so I worked at that, and so I became a principal then in the district, and that was another great step. So I stayed there for 4 or 5 years, working with preschool through 8th grade. Wonderful school, wonderful things to do, so I really grew there, and that was the time of computers, so there was a lot to do and a lot of fun. In between there, I had taught and got to know, they were starting charter schools at the time, and we had a really nice charter school starting up. And while I was working at this other job, I thought, oh, that would really be nice. So I asked if I could go there and teach, so I did. I went there for 6 years to teach, and it was a wonderful experience, and I stayed there for about 6 years. And then she called me in and she said, I'm going to make you principal of that building. And I said, oh, that will even be better, but I'm not sure it's going to work because these are all the teachers that I know and I've been working with all these years. I'm not sure it's going to work. And she said, oh, it'll work. So I went there, and I was the principal there for another 4 or 5 years, and that school was just great. So I stayed there. By this time, it was almost time for retirement, and I retired in 1997 with about 25, 26 years, well, really 32 altogether, 32 years in education. I see God's hand in every single thing that I've done, in the fun times and the very, very hard times. His hand was there, it all happens, and I think it's leading us to the time now where sometimes you think, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that. He'll take care of us. One of the times before I was getting ready to leave, this little boy, he was always in trouble. He was in 2nd grade, and I was always watching him and getting him other different times. And so one day he came, and I was just getting ready for lunch and getting everybody ready in the gym, and he came and he said, "You made me get a spanking yesterday." I said, "I did." I said, how could I do that? He said, "My dad took me home and he spanked me." I said, "You're the one that got the spanking. I didn't do that." And he was like, "I guess you're right," but he was a little one. And so the next day or something, the teachers had told him that I was going to retire, and he came to me. He said, you're not leaving." He was 2nd grade. I said, "I really am." He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to go fishing, just fishing." And at that point, he drops his pudding right in my shoe. And these are just the funny little things that happen, and I'm like, okay. And then a couple of days after that, we had a little going away party, and all the teachers and the parents and everybody came, and I see this little blonde head bopping with his father. I thought, oh, here it comes, I got him another paddle or something, And he had this little big tall thing, and he's carrying this. And he says, "Miss Maxwell, I've got this for you." And he brings it in, and it's a fishing pole. So we laughed, we had fun. So through some of those hard times that you get through, they're just fun, and they're always there, and you always remember them. I never contemplated this way, but not having had children myself, I probably would have missed it terribly if I did something else. But this way, I had kids my whole life, thousands of them, and I was with them a lot, and certainly their parents were so trusting and everything, and it was, I really believe that this is where I was supposed to be, and it happened the way it was supposed to happen, and that's all good.